G'day Internet, it's Kale from mParticle here with the third of our series of live broadcasts focusing on data quality. I'll be introducing Robert Ng, a senior engineer at mParticle in charge of our Linting project. But before we get into that, as I've done every time, for those of us completely new to mParticle, I want to start with a really quick primer on what it is that we do. So we are a customer data platform. We've been around since about 2013, and we work with all kinds of brands. And you'll see here quick service restaurants, media companies, banks, retailers, really any brand that needs to maintain an ongoing relationship with the customer, especially one across multiple platforms. So as a customer data platform, our task is to get data from wherever it is. That can be mobile apps, it can be web properties, third-party sources, point of sale systems in a brick and mortar store, just about anything. And we use identity resolution to bring all that data together into a single view of each customer. And then we make that view available to any services that need it. That could be marketing automation, DSPs, walled gardens for advertising, analytics services, A/B testing services. And also it's available directly via our profile API to power personalized experiences in your app or anywhere you can make an API call. So there are four key pillars to what we do. And the first is data infrastructure. So this is our real-time data pipelines, our suite of SDKs, our collection of integrations with all of our downstream tools, all of which are available to switch on at any time without doing a whole lot of setup. The second is data quality, and that's what we're focused on today. This is all about making sure you're collecting the right data and doing it consistently. This becomes more important the more data sources and the more teams that you bring together and you're collaborating with. So it's really important to be able to control quality and to be able to attribute data to the correct user. The third pillar is data governance. This is all about controlling and protecting your data and meeting your obligations under legislation like the GDPR and CCPA. And finally, data-driven personalization. So this is about using all that data that you've collected for delivering one-to-one personalized experiences in your messaging, in your apps, wherever you have a relationship with the customer. So now let's focus on the problem of data quality. And I want to introduce you to Robert Ng, a senior engineer at mParticle. He's been the lead on our Linting project. Rob, how are you doing? Oh, Rob, I can't hear you.
Sorry, there we go.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
I had the mute button still on. You know, even though we've been working for 3 months remotely, so that happens.
Rob, talk to us about Linting.
Great. Yeah, I'll take it over from here. Thanks, Cal. So I'm in charge of the SDK and tools team here at mParticle, and what that means is we try to improve the developer's experience and their workflow day to day. So one of the products we built is a linting tool that will help our clients conform across their different platforms that they have to make sure all of their data is consistent and goes to mParticle in a clean way. So what I'll do today is talk about linting at a high level, and then I'll do a demo of the linting tool that we have. So our tools, our linting tools cover iOS, Android, and web, and I'll be covering the web one today because that's the one that I built. So let me share my screen. All right. So at a high level, what is linting? You know, there may be some people on here who aren't developers. Perhaps you're a product manager or in marketing, and linting is a foreign concept to you. The best analogy I can use is it's pretty similar to what you may see in Microsoft Word or a Google Doc, where you have a typo and then there's a little squiggly line underneath where they're telling you, oh, this is spelled wrong or there's a grammatical error. So there's something very similar to this on in different IDEs, where they'll also provide you with rich feedback immediately as you're writing code. So as an example, I can just type like const names is equal to Rob, Robert, and I get the squiggly line as you see, and what it tells me is, hey, you've declared this variable, but you haven't used it yet. So if I were to use the variable, then that squiggly line goes away. So basically, you know, trying to improve your code so that you don't miss anything and there are fewer bugs in your code. So what does this look like in terms of how we we deal with linting at mParticle with regards to data quality. So in terms of the data plans themselves, at a high level, I'll share this other screen where this is your event stream, and you'll see all these different events coming in right now. If an event comes in that doesn't adhere to your data plan, it'll have the small X next to it. And when you click on it, you'll see that the issues with the event are that status is not a key that's supposed to exist on this event. Same with these different keys here. When all these are conforming, you're going to get a nice clean list of events that comes through without any X on it. So data plans themselves are pretty simple. They're basically a contract between your mParticle backend with how your product manager, your data scientists, everyone else, how they've set up the different event names and what attributes should be on them in the mParticle platform, so that your Android developers, your iOS developers, your web developers, and others can make sure that they're all conforming to the same data event names. So it's not uncommon for these developers to be different on each platform, so they might accidentally capitalize something, use hyphens instead of spaces, etc. So as you can see here, this is a pretty simple data plan for demonstration purposes. I've got 3 different events here: add friend, search, update profile, and each of these have different custom attributes that are associated with them. Some of them don't allow for additional attributes, others require certain attributes, et cetera, et cetera. And what our linting tools do is flag if you're accidentally sending something with the wrong event name or a custom attribute that's not included in here. So I can quickly jump over to my IDE again to show you exactly how that works. Now, the great thing about our JS linter is it's built on the backbone of ESLint. So ESLint is a very common tool that JavaScript developers use in order to lint their code. All they would need to do is first install the mParticle ESLint plugin, which is currently in beta. So any feedback as you're testing this out would be greatly appreciated on our side. So they would install this and add some items to their ESLint RC file. So I'll show you what a file may look like without the JavaScript being linted with our linter. You'll see there are no squiggly lines on here because by default, ESLint obviously doesn't have any access to the data plan. So what we do is we have a file called npconfig, where inside of it you would basically tell the IDE and our plugin where your data plan is. In this case, data plan version file is located in np data planning under rob.foodingplan.json. So when I click in here, this is basically a JSON schema of what you see in the UI here. So each of the events, add friend, etc., is going to be inside here. You see update profile. And one way you can download this is through the UI. There's a button up here where it says download plan, but I already have it downloaded. And I'll actually be leveraging one of our other tools, the mParticle CLI, in order to update this and provide you with like a realistic real-life example. So right here, before we add our plugin, we're not getting any sort of linting errors. A developer would commit this code potentially, fire it off, and then you would see all of these X's appear inside of the live stream because these don't actually conform. However, if I were to go to my ESLint RC file and I have plugin extends these data planning rules, what you'll see if we go back is these 3 events are actually malformed. So if we hover over them, it'll say this is unplanned. So each of these are unplanned right now. And if I were to fix them, if I looked in the live stream, the data plan is because everything is actually lowercase. So I'll change all of these to be lowercase. And as I do, you'll see that the linter is now telling you that everything looks fine. Everything is starting to adhere to the data plan itself. So in this case, add friend for some reason is still flagging that there is an issue with it. It went from being unplanned to saying, hey, there's a required key missing from the data point. So if we go to add friend, actually, let me update this really quick. npm, sorry, npm np update. Update plan, excuse me. So pull down the latest data plan. I may not have had the latest data plan here. And I'll reload the window really quick. Okay. So I had a previous version of the data plan. So what I can do is, so under this, we can take a look at, say, so this add friend requires gender, okay? So that's what I'm missing from here right now. So if I add the gender key, I say male, now we have a clean event, some clean code that adheres to the data plan. What's interesting is we'll be able to provide you with feedback based on what type of validation you have in here. In this case, for gender, it has to be either male, female, or other. So if we type in female, it'll be fine. Other is fine. But if for some reason the developer accidentally used abbreviations like M for male or F for female, that wouldn't work. And when we hover over it, it'll say the value did not match the set of values specified. And so those enums come from this list here. So let's say we are looking at another event here. We have update profile. So in this case, right now, I'm not allowed to use any other attributes except for the two listed here. So there's string adder and number adder. So if I were to try to add something else here, this was update profile, I believe. Right, so update profile. If I were to add another key, let's just fix this guy. I added another key like age, I put 8 or something like that. This will basically say that additional properties are not allowed. And that's because we've specified don't allow anything additional. What we can also do is instead, it was called number adder here. So that works fine. It's a number and has a minimum and maximum value of between 3 and 10. So this, as an 8, it'll qualify. If we turn this to 1, it'll tell us that it is less than the minimum specified. And then if we say like 20, it'll tell you that the value is greater than the maximum specified. So you get this real-time feedback based on the events you send in, the event type, as well as the custom attributes. And that pretty much sums it up in terms of what the demo is like. So again, we do have this on both or on all of our core platforms. It's available on iOS, Android, and web. If you go to our docs site, you'll be able to see that all here. Works pretty similarly, and we have all the layout instructions. So in this case, there's a validation error, and then once they fixed it, then the validation error goes away. And same with Android here. You'll see that the search event is invalid, and once a space is added, that fixes everything up. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I think we're going to pull Kale back in for any sort of Q&A. Let me stop sharing my screen.
G'day, Rob. Thanks very much. That looks great. Yeah, just a couple of quick questions. So I think one thing I want to cover is when is it the right time to use these linting tools as opposed to some of our other data quality tools that we've demoed in this series, like SmartType?
Yeah, so the linter is a good way to get started on data quality if you're already up and running as an mParticle customer and you have all of your systems set up. It's relatively lightweight and a simple add-on to see if your, if the code is appropriate. With SmartType, it builds another SDK, so the API is a little bit different. So the iOS, Android, and web SDKs, or excuse me, the linters aren't going to be able to lint the smart type API. So yeah, it being a little bit more, I would say the smart type is a larger investment migration plan, but it's a bit more robust.
Understood. That's great. So we've really got like the tools there, and data quality is really an ongoing battle. So wherever you're ready to jump in, we've got the tools at the right level. I think the other question I had here is, are there any limits on like linting as a static analysis tool? So what are the kind of gotchas that we need to be aware of when we're using any sort of linting, but also our mParticle linters?
Yeah, so with static analysis, there are definitely some blind spots. Most notably, if data is going to come in from a database or from a user action on a website or in the app, static analysis is not going to capture that since those values are coming in dynamically. Another important area that static analysis wouldn't catch in general is having constants that are pulled in from variables from other pages. So those wouldn't be able to be read either, but the linter won't flag those as errors. So you'll be able to proceed with your code even if you have this linter running.
I have a question here. Oh, I just lost you. Oh, no, you're good. I have a question here. Would this work for mobile app frameworks like React Native or Flutter?
Right now, it doesn't. It works for iOS, Android, and web. As we start to get more feedback about what other platforms that they'd like to see it added to, it wouldn't be too much of a switch, I don't think.
Understood. And we have one more question here who says, like, he doesn't have someone who does not use any mParticle product right now. Can he just go for the linting tool by itself?
That's an interesting question. So if you don't have any sort of mParticle products right now, you wouldn't be able to leverage this. This requires you to have a JSON object that adheres to an mParticle data plan. So, although there are ways that you could create a data plan based off of like a JSON schema, it really does seem more to be for mParticle clients who are trying to improve their data quality.
Understood. And I should point out too that while the linting isn't going to work well for people that don't currently use mParticle, the smart type library on GitHub is open source and can be adapted to just about any JSON schema. So the asker might want to have a look into the smart type library. That might be a good place to look for a similar kind of data quality tool. All right, I think that is all the questions we have. I'm going to refresh the page one more time just to be sure. No, that looks to be about it. So thanks very much, everybody, for tuning in. And thanks, Rob, for walking us through this. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.